Today we look at the Virgin Queen's secret world, Elizabeth I's strange and fascinating life. It's September 7th, 1533 at Greenwich Palace. A baby girl has just been born to King Henry VIII and his second wife, Anne Boleyn. This infant, declared illegitimate before her third birthday, would grow up to become one of history's most extraordinary monarchs. But Queen Elizabeth wasn't just a great queen, she was one of the history's most peculiar rulers. Today we're diving into the bizarre, brilliant, and captivating world of the Virgin Queen. Let's start with her birth. Henry VIII was so convinced that he'd have a son, he didn't even bother preparing for a girl's name. Elizabeth was literally a last-minute decision. And here's something wild. Astrologers had predicted the baby would be a prince who would bring glory to England. Well, they were half right, I guess, about that. They got the glory part right, but were spectacularly wrong about the prince part. From the moment she could walk, Elizabeth was different. While other noble children played with dolls, young Elizabeth was obsessed with languages. By 11, she was fluent in French, Italian, Latin, and Greek. Her tutor once wrote that her mind was exempt from female weakness, which tells you a lot about 16th century attitudes, but also hints at just how remarkable this girl was. She had some absolutely bizarre habits that would make modern celebrities look normal. First, her teeth. Elizabeth had a notorious sweet tooth. She loved marchpane, candied fruits, and sugar sculptures. The result? Her teeth turned black and eventually rotted out. Foreign ambassadors wrote home, describing her black teeth as one of the most striking features. She became so self-conscious that she stuffed rags in her mouth to fill out her cheeks during public appearances as well. And speaking of appearances, Elizabeth invented what might be the world's first comprehensive beauty routine, and it was actually terrifying. She painted her face with a mixture of white lead and vinegar. Yes, lead, the same stuff that's poisonous. She had applied this toxic makeup so thickly, it really looked like a mask. Underneath, her skin was scarred from smallpox, so she literally wore a painted face every day for decades. But the weirdest part? It was her wigs. She owned about 80 wigs. 80! When she started going bald from all that lead poisoning, she began collecting red wigs to match her natural hair color. She had wig servants whose only job was wig maintenance. Imagine having that on your medieval LinkedIn profile. Professional wig attendant to Her Majesty. Now, we can also talk about her legendary temper. Elizabeth just didn't get angry. She got creative and spectacularly angry. When she was furious with someone, she'd throw her shoes at them. Not slippers, but actual shoes. She once threw a shoe so hard at a courtier that it left a dent in the wall. Another time, she grabbed a knife and went after the Earl of Essex. It was one of her favorite courtiers, but during an argument about military appointments, she just lost it. But perhaps her strangest obsession was with her staying unmarried. In an age when a woman's worth was determined by her husband, Elizabeth turned singlehood into a political weapon. She received over 30 marriage proposals from kings, princes, and nobles across Europe. But she'd string them along for years, decades even, using the possibility of marriage as a diplomatic tool. Probably the most famous of these was the Archduke Charles of Austria. Their courtship lasted 10 years. 10 full years, with Elizabeth actually never even meeting him. She'd send love letters, demand portraits, negotiate dowries, all while having absolutely no intention of marrying him. When his representatives finally figured out that she was just using them, the Archduke reportedly said he'd rather become a monk than deal with English politics again. Elizabeth's court was like a Renaissance reality TV show. She demanded that all her male courtiers pretend to be in love with her. They'd write poems about her beauty, remember this as a woman with black teeth and toxic makeup, and compete for attention like teenagers. She'd keep detailed records of who complimented her and how. If someone didn't flirt with her adequately, they'd find themselves exiled from court. Her relationship with Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester, was particularly scandalous. They'd known each other since childhood, but rumors flew that they were secretly married. Elizabeth called him her sweet Robin and gave him a bedroom right next to hers in every palace. When his wife Amy died under mysterious circumstances, falling downstairs while alone in the house, people whispered that Elizabeth and Robert had murdered. Modern historians, though, they think it was probably cancer-related weak bone. But the scandal nearly destroyed Elizabeth's reputation. Now, here's something that might blow your mind. Elizabeth had one of the history's first spin doctors. She crafted her image with precision of a modern PR team. The whole Virgin Queen persona, totally calculated. She claimed she was married to England and called her subjects her children. It was brilliant marketing. She transformed what should have been her greatest weakness into her greatest strength. She also invented royal progress, essentially massive road trips where she deemed would descend on wealthy nobles with a court of about 400 people, and she'd stay for weeks, eating them out of house and home. These visits could bankrupt a family, but nobody dared refuse the Queen. One nobleman spent so much money preparing for Elizabeth's visit that he had to sell his estate afterwards. Elizabeth's paranoia was legendary, and probably justified as well. She'd survived multiple assassination plots, including the famous gunpowder plot precursors. She'd had a network of spies that would make a CIA jealous, run by Sir Francis Walsingham. They intercepted letters, planted double agents, and even ran honey trap operations. Elizabeth read every intelligence report personally and could remember details about obscure plots years later. But here's the thing that makes Elizabeth truly fascinating. Despite all her quirks, vanity, and bizarre habits, she was an absolute brilliant leader. She spoke 6 languages fluently and could switch between them mid-sentence so she could confuse ambassadors. She had a photographic memory for faces and could remember someone she had met 20 years ago. She had personally oversaw England's finances and turned a bankrupt nation into a major European power. When the Spanish threatened England in 1588, Elizabeth did something unprecedented. She dressed in armor, like actual armor, and rode out to address her troops at Tilbury. Her speech that day became legendary. "I know I have the body of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and of a king of England, too." Elizabeth ruled for 45 years. She died at age 69 and never married. She transformed England from a minor European nation into a major power, patronized Shakespeare and Marlowe, and created what we now call the Elizabethan Golden Age. Not bad for someone who started life as an illegitimate princess with terrible teeth and lead poisoning makeup habit. So the next time September 7th rolls around, remember, it's not just any day. It's the birthday of one of history's most brilliant, bizarre, and absolutely unforgettable rulers. Elizabeth I provided that sometimes, well, she actually proved that sometimes the most extraordinary people are also the most eccentric, and that being weird might just be the secret to being wonderful. Thanks for watching, everybody. And if you enjoyed what you saw today, feel free to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.